live a little differently, or perhaps at least look at your world a little differently. I want to talk to you about what it means to live an authentic, conscious life.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy that you could join me today. This is Dr. Indhushree Rajan bringing you the series Living Consciously on the Price of Business podcast. And it's my pleasure to have with me today Dr. Andrea Slominski. And she's going to tell us about the wonderful work she's doing with women and why conscious living is important in the work that she does and how she experiences living consciously. So welcome, Dr. Slominski. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Industry's awesome to be here and be with you this morning to talk about conscious living for women. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Andrea, tell us a little bit about your work and how bringing conscious awareness in your work impacts women. You know, what do you see in terms of that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my work as a PhD, I researched the new emerging life stage for women since 1900 that I call Regency. That has emerged for women from about age 50 to 70 plus. In 1900, most women were dead by the age of 51. Statistically, white women were dead by 51, women of color by 43. So in the last 100 to 123 years, women's lifespan has expanded, and boomers, late boomers, and all the women coming up behind us are the first generations of women in the history of humanity to live past menopause as a cohort, as a group. So there's always been individual women who've lived long lives or who lived past menopause or through menopause since the time of Plato, but never before have entire generations of women lived past menopause together. And so this is what I focused my research on. And it's created an entirely new life stage, which is why women, when they get to the perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and even post-menopause times of their life, oftentimes say, now what? Because there are no models, there are no maps, there's no road signs, we're creating this life stage as we're living it, which is an incredible opportunity for women. And so my work with women as a therapeutic coach is to help women in this particular life stage, midlife, menopause, perimenopause, post-menopause, discover who they want to be now and what they want to do. Because generally, women have spent the past 20 to 30 years working in their careers, supporting their colleagues, supporting their family, raising children if they had them, taking care of their siblings, their friends, their cohort of people in their lives, and they've been tending everyone else's garden and not their own. And most women, or many women, I should say, when they get to this time of life, are like, okay, now it's my turn. But
Well,
many are like, what do I want to do with this? Who do I want to become? And so the perimenopause, menopause, post-menopause shift is the physical transformation that women go through, which of course brings us to consciousness about our body, about the changes we're going through in our body. If we've been ignoring our body or not caring for ourselves with self-care for so many years, as we take care of so many others, a lot of issues might come up where we say, okay, it's time to take care of myself. I need to be conscious of my own physical vehicle and my relationship with my body, my cohort, my consort, as Dr. Estes calls it in Women Who Run with the Wolves. And so at the same time is the midlife shift, which is the psychological shift that's pre-programmed into the human psyche, just like the menopause shift is pre-programmed into the body. And so this midlife shift brings women to a whole new series of questions that relate now to purpose, meaning, and belonging. And saying, go ahead.
So what I'm curious from what, I mean, it's powerful work that you're doing. And I'm wondering, you know, as I'm listening to you, it seems like you're making a connection between breaking out of or having an awareness around roles that women fulfill versus, you know, stepping into a new place where you can kind of look back and say, oh, I guess I can, or I don't have to fill these roles. And maybe there's more for me, you know, having awareness around what might, you know, what potentialities might exist beyond what we've traditionally known women to be in different stages of life. So perhaps like that conscious living would be around conscious awareness of potential. Would that be part of it?
Well, absolutely. There's 7 realms of change that women go through during this period of time, from about 45 to 70, right? This Regency life stage is 25 years of transformation. And so roles is one of the big one that changes. Because your roles change. If you had children, they move out. If you have parents, now you might be their caregiver, right? If you have siblings, there might be something going on there. If you retire, you've lost that role. All these roles that revolve around your identity and make you sort of know who you are and your place in the world change at this time of life. And absolutely, it's about the idea of the potential of saying, okay, I am now living into this new life stage that most women in the history of humanity never had the chance to live into. What do I want to do with this? Who do I want to become? What do I want to be engaged in? Where do I want to use my consciousness, my energy, my drive, my personal power? Because women in this life stage, by 2030, there'll be over 87 million US women over 45.
That's incredible.
So our economic power is growing, our political power is growing, and our cultural power is growing. What do we want to do with it? What do we want to fix?
What's interesting to me is, because I mean, from a mindfulness perspective, what I've found over and over, and this is why, you know, I think that living consciously is such a critical aspect of self-actualizing, is that our biology takes its cue from how we think, right? And what we believe. So I would imagine, I mean, have you found that in your research that there's a correlation between the different ways in which women think and believe and lifespan?
That's a very interesting question, because individual lifespan is so tied into so many factors of a woman's life. I mean, starting with genetics, starting with then you could add in education, lifestyle, economic circumstances, healthcare availability, mental health care availability. But one thing that I do know from working with the clients that I have worked with and am working with is that the way you think about yourself and your life consciously, the decisions that you make to change your perspective, to change your life, to take a new direction, to change your circumstances by focusing on who you are and what your potential is life-changing. Whether that aspect of self-fulfillment and self-actualization actually extends life, well, we know that when you're miserable, your body puts out chemicals and a hormone cascade that is damaging to your body. And we know that when you're positive and when you're happy and when you're taking care of yourself, that your body puts out chemicals in your hormone cascade that are more beneficial. So I would say yes, the more miserable you are for the longer length of time, the more likely you are to take less care of yourself, the more likely you are to engage in healthcare practices, mental health care practices. So without actually going in and doing the research, I would hesitate to actually say that I know definitively yes or no, but I'm sure there are some research.
Well, and I think there's also, I mean, just from what you're saying, there's such a finality to roles, right? I mean, there's almost an implication, like, you know, we talk about empty nest. And it's kind of like, okay, my kids are gone, so my role as a mother, there's a sense of, oh, my role as a mother is over, right? So I guess I'm wondering if maybe coming back to a place of conscious awareness and conscious living is a way of really like directly extending your life, whether that's physiologically or, in terms of potentials, in terms of vision, because I think that vision oftentimes is what takes us into a space where we're excited about life again. We feel like there's possibilities again, rather than, oh my God, I'm at a dead end, which I think a lot of
Absolutely.
women go through.
Vision, hopes, dreams, all of that leads us forward. And in terms of like, an empty nest is a really great example. In terms of looking at that, one of the ways that I work with my clients is I work with mythologies, fairy tales, folk tales, right? Dream work, active imagination. These are the tools of Jungian and depth psychology. And so looking at the idea of empty nest, one of the really great myths that I work with women who are having issues with this is the myth of Demeter and Persephone. Because really, even though you're not mothering every day and you're not doing all of those roles, once a mother, always a mother, right? But the perspective shifts and the dynamics within the relationship must shift in order for the mother to grow and become conscious and go into her next phase, and in order for the child to grow and be conscious and come into the next phase. So yeah, roles are huge, and having that kind of conscious awareness of that it's possible to revitalize and recreate yourself for yourself. And my greatest hope in the work in the women that I do is that not only do they authentically decide who they are now, what they want to do, but that they apply that to the greater good.
Well, and that's the final piece, right? Because I think that, and I think especially women tend to be the heart center of a relationship, and men tend to be more, I think we're socialized differently, men tend to be more externally oriented and women tend to be more internally oriented. And so it's interesting, the shift you're suggesting is to reconnect. It's almost an opportunity to reconnect once you go within and start to realize, oh, I'm greater than these roles that I've been fulfilling, and connecting with that purpose. Then we have that opportunity to reconnect in a larger way with the world around us and expand our purpose beyond how we're seen or understood or whatever is put on us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because there's such a dynamic engagement with that process, because as we age as women in our culture, there are certain aspects of our culture that devalue us as aging women. Yet we have our wisdom, we have our life experience, we have our career experience, we have all together of who we are, right? In order to use all this experience to say, okay, well, I'm not done. Culture may say one thing, right? And as we age, we still also have to be really clear that there are things that come up. There can be losses, there can be difficulties, there can be health issues. But excuse me, but with all that being said, this opportunity in terms of consciously recreating yourself as a woman at this stage of life has never happened before. I mean, every generation of woman that stands behind you all the way back to mitochondrial Eve is like cheering you on, because we have this opportunity that they never had. Yeah. And what we're going to do with it is entirely up to us.
That is so powerful. And I think that's such an amazing precipice to be on. We're on the brink of so much more, of so much more, so much potentiality. Andrea, the work you do is so powerful. And, if somebody wanted to work with you, how would they contact you? And what is it that you do with women? one-on-one and in groups?
Yeah, sure. Well, they could go to my website, which I imagine will be in the show notes because it's a long thing to tell you here. My maiden name is Modisette and my married name is Slominski, so nobody can remember how to spell them or say them. So I go by Dr. A. But I have a website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. If all that's in the show notes, they can do that. Basically, I have a number of programs that I'm running at the current time. I work one-on-one with clients in two different ways. One is a structured program that's called the Heroine's Path, that's based on a 12-week program that I put together from my PhD studies and my work in mythology and my research on women's midlife and menopause. And it basically takes women from looking at where they are, how they got here, and where they want to go through the lens of mythology, fairy tale, folktale, and archetypal Jungian psychological tools. And that's a structured program. Then I also do one-on-one work for women who aren't sure if they want to do the structured program or not, and that's hourly. And they can book, one session, which really is kind of a get to know you, but they can book 1 or 10 or whatever. Often, if you go on my website, sometimes quarterly, I'll run specials, so they can look for that. I run classes on the 7 realms of change. I teach a course that's a deep dive into Clarissa Pinkola Estes' book, Women Who Run with the Wolves, which I think is a foundational text, one of the most important texts written for women's midlife transformation. So
wonderful. So it sounds like you do one-on-one and group coaching and education to really help women rewrite their story and, really move forward in a different way, if you're midlife or older.
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to talk about my story anymore. It's like, well, your story is where you came from. So your story is, in a sense, your personal myth. It's the mythology of your life. And so we start there. And then by the time we get into the different processes of the coaching programs, then you decide, what do I want my next chapter to be? Then you're ready to take the heroine's journey. Then you're ready to move out into the next phase of your life consciously.
Wonderful. Well, that's exciting. That's so exciting. And all of you out there who would like to work with Dr. A, please listen for details. Can you give us your website name?
Sure. It's my name. It's actually www.drandreaslominski.com, which would be DRANDREA S as in Sam, LOMINSKI.com.
Fantastic. I know you and I are in the tough names club.
Yeah. If they search on Google, Dr. A Women's Midlife Coach, they'll be able to find me. So
Dr. A Women's Midlife Coach. So all of you women out there who are ready to be empowered to live in this next phase of your life and, really live that story that you want to live, please get in contact with Dr. A to continue your work. So thank you so much for being here and for being part of this series. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you today.
It's my honor to work with you, and I'm grateful to be included in your series. It's awesome, Indhushree. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, you have a wonderful day. All of you out there listening, do get in touch with Dr. A. And if you want any more information about my work with clients, I am at theconscious-life.com. And again, this has been Dr. Indhushree Rajan with Dr. Andrea Slominski. Thank you and have a great day. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Indhushree Rajan, and I hope that you're enjoying this video. If you'd like to see more of this content, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Conscious Psychologist.